Welcome to Extra Time here on Fox's Hub with me, Dan Bates, after yet another Leicester City victory at the start of the season. Thanks to that win away at Blackburn, the Foxes equalled the record for the best start in Championship history with 24 points from a possible 27. Coming up on the show, we'll assess that victory. We'll talk about LCFC women's winning start to the season, make a nod to Mark Albrighton, who played his 300th game for the club away at Liverpool in midweek, and the four of us will go head-to-head in our football Jenga at the end of the show. Iwan Roberts, as ever, is my co-host with us this evening, although sadly he's not in the studio tonight. He joins us via Zoom. Good evening to you, Ewan. In the studio with me, we've got former club captain Matt Elliott and Sunday Times football correspondent Jonathan Northcroft. As ever, fantastic to have you along with us. Good evening. And you've got a bit of an entourage this evening, actually, haven't you?
Yeah, I brought my crew with me, or my daughters as they're known.
Absolutely, and I'm sure they'll enjoy watching you through there in the other room.
Oh, hopefully, they'll probably tell me they could do better afterwards. Yeah.
They're in there, giving them away. Hi, girls.
Good
They're trying to get in, they're trying to get involved.
Matt as well, how are you?
Isn't it nice not having you and in the studio? What a pleasant relief when I found out he didn't fancy making the journey tonight. But hello, Ewan, I'll give you a wave as well.
Who have you got to pick on, Matty? Now that I'm not there tonight.
Well, it's definitely going to be me, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's not Jonathan. He's too dapper to criticise. Bates is my target tonight, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you, Ewan?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, Dan. I didn't find out that I wasn't in the studio until about 12:30. I packed the car because I was supposed to be staying up in Leicester tonight because I'm at the Riverside tomorrow night. So I packed the car, ready to set off for the King Power. And I got a text off Elliot saying, forgot to tell you, we've already got 2 guests in the studio. You can do it from home tonight. So even though it's a bit of a blow, it was a pleasant surprise. Yeah, I won't get slaughtered from Matty for the change.
Yeah, pleasant surprise for you and me both, mate.
If you're watching us on YouTube or on Facebook, do get involved in the comments section, and I'll get your questions into the guys. Sam Woolman on YouTube just says straight back up, Leicester City. That's the chant. That's obviously the plan this season. Good evening to Fee. Fee says evening all. It couldn't have really started much better, Matt, could it? Just the one blemish against Hull a few weeks ago, that could easily have been a victory as well. It's been a fantastic start. And we seem to be starting the show every single week in the same way, talking about how good the start to the season has been. That's because they keep winning games.
Well, it's nice, though, isn't it? It's a nice feeling. Let's enjoy it. I wouldn't say while we can, because I do expect it to go on, certainly to some level throughout the season. But, lots of impressive aspects of Leicester's play. I suppose at the end of the day, I was sort of mulling it over myself today, thinking, does it highlight the massive gap between the Premier League and the Championship? How would this Leicester team, it's a bit early to say, but how would this Leicester team under Enzo Maresca fare in the Premier League right now? Don't know. We'll never quite know, will we? Because they're in developing stage, etc. But you can't fault it, can you? Because for me, they're not playing to their maximum. And I think that's to be expected. I was a little bit concerned, I've said it a few times. At the start of the season, I thought it could be a little bit rocky. It could be time to gel and settle in and integrate methods, etc., new players, coaching staff, etc. But they've been able to get the results, which is the key aspect. And as a consequence, the confidence has grown, hasn't it? And they're going along, and I think they're only going to get better and stronger as the season goes. I hope that is the case. But it's quite intimidating, really, for the rest of the league when they look at Leicester's position.
Yeah, you talk about confidence, Matt. I mean, one of the takeaways from that game, or one of the abiding images, would be that bit right at the end at 4-1 when Leicester just start knocking the ball around. I mean, I think 26, 27 passes, just the olays from the crowd.
Put 33 passes together the other week against Southampton and scored at the end of it, mid-game.
And the sequence was only stopped because Blackburn had to foul to stop themselves getting embarrassed. But that's a confident team. I think they're getting better playing-wise.
Yeah, they're not get better, won't they?
They will get better, and you've got key men in form. Vardy's goal was sensational. That's him back on form. Enzo seems to have lots of options. He's able to bring them in, bring them out, perm them. But then the key players Winks, Dewsbury Hall, lads at the back. There's a spine, and then there's the different attacking options, and it does look like it's coming together nicely. I mean, I was asking myself, similar question to you, Matt, what would happen next year with this kind of team? Because I've been watching a bit of Burnley this year, who played fantastic football in the Championship last year.
Yeah.
Quite a similar style, and they're playing really good football in the Prem, but they're getting beaten every week.
But that's a million miles off, are they? But exactly, not getting a result. I think Leicester, if I'm being honest, right now, if they'd played how they have done in Championship, in the Premier League, I think they'd be struggling too. I think they'd have been caught out, because a few times, Blackburn, good example at the weekend, had their chances, had their situations, couldn't capitalise on them, and then in the end, Leicester's quality will come through if you're not converting the opportunities that come your way. But Leicester do give you chances.
They do. I guess Burnley rather will maybe give Leicester a bit of a roadmap. Enzo can look at that and think, right, well, this is what I need to tweak.
Yeah.
The Premier League's it's just faster. It's more unforgiving, as you say. Maybe there is one difference, which I guess is that spine that I'm talking about of Vardy and Winks and the defenders. Burnley don't have that. They don't have that experience, so there's that to draw on.
Yeah, but I just think that certain instances, Premier League opposition, Leicester a little bit loose. They have little phases in the game where it's all a bit scrambled. They get punished against Premier League. But listen, we're talking hypothetically. That's a problem for the future. Right now, all looks rosy, doesn't it? You have to say, without getting blasé about things.
I wouldn't worry too much about next season and how would this team fare in the Premier League, lads. I really wouldn't. I think we've got to enjoy what's happening right now. The start that the football club's made in the Championship. 8 wins in 9. After what happened last season and the bitter taste that left, I think we've just got to enjoy every single moment of this season, and I think next season then will take care of itself. I do agree with you, Matty, believe it or not. Not too often this happens. I do think the team's got an extra couple of gears to go up in. I don't think they're firing on all cylinders yet. I saw the Southampton game. It was a terrific advert for Championship football. The Norwich game, a similar game. You're coming to a club with high expectations. Realistically should be finishing in the top 6, and Leicester brushed them apart in third gear, really. And I mean, yesterday was a really good game. I saw Blackburn on Wednesday night in the EFL Cup. They made loads of changes, and I knew what they had. I knew what they bring to the table. They're very attacking, pacey in key areas. Score plenty of goals, but will also give you opportunities. And maybe they after the game thought the score didn't really reflect the 90 minutes or 90 plus minutes, and I would agree with that. I don't think it was a 4-1 sort of scoreline, to be honest, because if you look at all the statistics, there's not a lot to separate the two teams. I mean, I remember last week, Dan, we had someone text in after the 1-0 win against Bristol City saying, I'd like to see more goals. Yes, well, I think they meant at home, not away from home. And then, you need to be more clinical. And, 4 shots on goal yesterday, and 4 goals. So you can't be more clinical than that, to be fair. I'm getting the cat attacking me now. Let me just push it. Get down.
The joys of working from home, you and the joys of
They did say don't work with kids and animals, don't they?
On YouTube, N6663, catch your name, says, how important do the fellas think it is for players to be on a roll, and how big of an impact does morale make on performances?
How big an impact does who?
Morale.
Oh, right. Sorry, I thought that was a new sign in a minute. The way you pronounced it. I missed something here. Yeah, of course. I mean, it goes... It always makes me laugh when, you hear players sort of nonchalantly or flippantly put it out there, we've got a good team spirit. I've yet to hear a player say we've got a bad team spirit. But it also coincides with winning games. That's what develops the spirits and the harmony and the morale and the confidence, etc. So, yeah, it's huge. It's huge. Momentum's always a word that's used, and I don't, how that actually sort of translates into, why you start performing better. But it's just confidence, really, isn't it? Everyone's happy to express themselves. They're not playing, with any inhibitions really, and everything flows, everything understands, and that's a consequence of hard work all coming together at the same time. But so the other teams are all working hard. They're all hoping it comes together, but it does for some and not others. But you get the feel-good factor, don't you? I think there was a buzz straight away. Big impact by Enzo Maresca coming in, just walking through the building, coming in because it was doom and gloom, relegation, Jonathan, and everyone's thinking, the end of the dream, and what a dream it's been. But Maresca came in, and all of a sudden, people were revitalised and infused again, and thinking, do you know what? Rather than think, everyone's leaving, we're going to capitulate, disintegrate. All of a sudden, there was hope straight away, and it's proved to be verified as well, isn't it?
It's looking a very shrewd appointment by the club, because what Enzo represents is a new way of playing and a new way of working.
Yeah, a new era, isn't it?
Yeah, new era, complete break from the past. I think morale does help, and I think playing a style of football that's enjoyable helps. And the players, you can see, are embracing the attacking licence they've been given. I mean, it's a detailed and complicated style because he's big on his positional demands. There's a lot of rotation, so it won't be easy to play. There'll be a lot of work on the training ground, but it's attacking and it's enjoyable, and people are expressing themselves. And I tell you what else helps is squad depth, because that bench that Leicester had on Saturday, I mean, that itself could be a really good Championship team. And when you've got, Connor Cody playing as well as he did at Liverpool, and then you see Vestergaard and Fass, they want to keep their places. They're under pressure all of a sudden, but they then put in the performances they did at Blackburn. It's that kind of, virtuous circle, I suppose, Leicester are benefiting from.
Yeah, a good point on the squad size, really, in particular. Bubba, one of our regular listeners. Good evening to you, Bubba. He says, we haven't been 100% healthy or fit. We haven't had a full squad to pick from yet. There's the odd knocks here and there. But look at the start that they've made, and they are able to, as Jonathan says, rotate.
Yeah, squad rotation or depth is hugely important. It's vital, and already it's proved very handy, hasn't it? Players coming in and out, whether it's injury or just feeling their way into the club as new signings, just sort of settling down or not playing as well as they can. A bit of inconsistency, not having a good day, bring him off. You've got quality coming on. All those reasons, and Leicester have got that aplenty, haven't they? Certainly in comparison to most other teams, probably all other teams in the Championship.
Yeah, you just look at those changes, Ewan, and every time it seems to have gone right from Enzo Maresca's point of view. What was it? It was 5 he made when they played at Norwich, that game that you were at. They made 5 again and they beat Bristol City. They are able to make these changes. At the moment, touch wood, it continues and still win games.
Yeah, and I think that's what's impressed me more than anything, because I think we sort of spoke about it yesterday, Dan, that with all the games coming thick and fast in this Championship, the run that the club had in the EFL Cup before the loss at Anfield, you're playing 3 games a week, and it's hard then to get the amount of workload you need to get the players to understand this certain philosophy that Enzo's brought in to the football club. And that's why you've got to give the lads so much credit for grasping it with both hands. And yeah, you're going to get the odd bump in the road. We totally understand that. We had one yesterday when Hammerson tried to play out the back into Harry Winks, and it was cut out, and Blackburn equalised. The manager took full responsibility for that. That's his method. That's the way he wants to play. But yeah, 5 changes after the Southampton game shocked us all. Playing Hamza Chowdhury right back. He looked as if he'd played there all his career. Things are going fantastically. And 2 home games now before the international break. It wasn't the best of games for the last international break when we lost at home 2 home. Hopefully these next 2 home games, the boys can be firing on full cylinders.
I saw you nodding along, Jonathan. I think when Ewan mentioned, obviously, Enzo Maresca taking responsibility. Are you still having problems there, Ewan, by the way?
Oh, it's just driving me mad, honestly.
So I was distracted there by just another push away from you. Nodding along when Enzo Maresca came out, actually, and he took responsibility for that mistake that was obviously made by Mads Hermansen and the group. But do you know what? they said it's going to happen in this style of play. And I think everyone, Leicester fans, us here in the studio, we're just basically just going to have to get used to that it will sometimes go wrong.
It will, and it's still odd watching it sometimes for, I don't know, someone that's been brought up in British football or whatever to see it happen. But I was at Spurs Liverpool at the weekend. Both of those teams play out from the back in the most hair-raising way, particularly Spurs. I mean, they will knock the ball around their own 6-yard box, and they were Liverpool press at such intensity, Spurs press at such intensity that you were watching a game where both teams looked crazy at what they were doing, but they were succeeding at it because they practiced and worked at it. And I think that would be Enzo Maresca's point, that keep going at this, improve how you execute it, and it will start. There will be fewer mistakes. You probably always get one or two. That passing sequence I mentioned at the end, the 26, 27 passes, I think the ball went back to the keeper 4 or 5 times. And that's what a ball-playing goalkeeper gives you.
He effectively plays about 35 yards out, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He's becomes a sweeper. I think Raya plays quite similarly for Arsenal. So I think you have to take the odd glitch. To be honest, I thought the goal at the weekend, it was how it was executed. It wasn't playing out from back. As I said, that works when it's done well. He just picked the wrong pass. I don't know why he passed to Harry Winks at that particular moment, who was marked. Maybe Winks was fouled, but it was still a crazy pass to play. But he's a young keeper. He's very good with his feet, and he'll learn the more he does that.
Yeah, it's good that also that they don't get deterred when it does go awry, when it goes wrong, and that comes from the manager. They know they've got his belief, his backing. He's already said before a ball was kicked in anger that this season it will go wrong a few occasions. Like, we will concede off the back of it, but it's all for the greater good, I suppose. I think there is a time and a place. I mean, it's easy to criticise when it goes wrong, but it's about, if you've got the players who are good enough, you trust their decision making. And Hermanson said himself, there's been a few close calls already earlier in the season against Southampton, especially after taking the lead so early. There were skirmishes at both ends of the pitch. Other instances, but again, this is the first time they've actually fully paid the price by conceding a goal. And everyone's sort of looking at it thinking, oh, what were you doing, what were you doing? I agree with you, it was the wrong pass at the wrong time, because Winks was obviously under pressure. He didn't have that half a yard, he wasn't in space. Keeper's got to recognise that. But he said himself, a few times we've nearly conceded, it's gone wrong, and there's been a few scary moments, but he said, I have belief in myself that my decision making is sufficiently good enough to try and play that. It's not like he's a goalkeeper from the 70s who's been thrown in at the deep end and said, go on then, all the best, have a go at that. He's been brought up playing that way. You can tell it's natural for him. Yeah. And majority of the time, I think overall, I don't think anyone can complain right now, can they?
No, absolutely not. Not with 8 wins from 9 at the start of the season. Let's do the first of our Lardles this evening. And this is our little game that we play, snippets of commentary of a Leicester City goal. There's always a link. So there's a mini clue anyway at the start. Ewan always tries to second guess what it might be every single week. Still, have you got it right yet, Ewan, early on yet?
I've got it a couple of weeks ago on the second clue.
Yeah, okay. So we are looking for the goal scorer and the team that it was scored against. Obviously, the clues get easier and easier as we go along, so the earlier you get it, the better. Right, this is clue 1.
As Daniel Amata, his name being sung loudly amongst the Leicester fans before that corner was taken, as Soyuncu again knocks the ball over the top.
Got it. Got it, Ewan. I like you, son.
Nothing to draw really from that. We'll play it one more time.
As Daniel Amata, his name being sung loudly amongst the Leicester fans before that corner was taken, as Soyuncu again knocks the ball over the top.
Yes, so get your answers in either on Facebook or on YouTube in the comments section. We're looking for the goal scorer and the team that it was scored against. Speaking of the comments section, Mick Savage on Facebook says, great to see Jamie Vardy in full Russell mode again, Iwan Roberts. That's exactly what he was. We spoke about it last week, didn't he? Rustling the Bristol City fans after scoring his penalty. This week it was away from home at Blackburn. What a goal, by the way. We'll talk about each of the goals individually, but just Jamie Vardy again. That he took it so well.
I mean, he had a sort of a sight a few minutes before, didn't he? On his more favoured right foot, where he received the ball, he turned in one movement, hit the ball on the ever so unlucky, sort of just hit the top of the bar. I mean, it was a fantastic strike. But yeah, I mean, his goal was pure Jamie Vardy, getting on that centre-half shoulder. Deeney's ball is a magnificent ball. 2 touches to control the ball with his left foot. And it's not an easy strike from there, Dan. The angle sort of didn't favour him, but he gets so much venom and power in the shot. I think it's the power that beats the goalkeeper. He's on a run. It's great to see. And as I said to you last week, there is a saying: never flick a lion's you know what, because you make them angry and they punish you.
And he has been doing that.
Yeah, it's as you've said, the kind of Jamie Vardy, not just the player but the personality's back in full force at the moment. You know, he loves proving people wrong. He loves making a point against the opposition fans, and that kind of, you know, how many goals has he scored for Leicester? It's in the hundreds now, isn't it? But it's that clinical, confident ball striking with that left foot, you know, giving Leicester fans so much joy. Absolutely rifled it into the corner. I do wonder, maybe Ewan would have an idea whether it's one of those situations whether the first touch, because it's not a perfect first touch, it kind of makes the striker's mind up, because he then, it takes him wide and there's only one thing he can really do, and maybe sometimes that helps a player.
Hits it early as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
The keeper couldn't set properly. It's a snapshot.
Yeah.
Snapshot. What's that saying? I've never heard that saying. Never flick a lion's you know what.
Don't make him angry, Matty. Don't make him angry.
It makes sense. No, I get it, I get it. I've just never actually heard the term, and I don't know. Make up your own mind on that one, I suppose, isn't it?
Well, he's definitely been making his cat angry this evening, hasn't he? You and obviously Jonathan was referencing that Jamie Vardy in that position there. Was that just a case of, because the ball sat up so nicely, he's able to just rifle it home? As it hits the target, the goalkeeper has no chance unless it literally hits the goalkeeper.
As a forward, when you're in that situation, you've got to fully concentrate on working the goalkeeper. It's as simple as that. You know, you don't sort of try and pick an area. You try and hit the target, make the goalkeeper work. I think, especially when it's on your weaker foot, I think you sort of try and get more power into it. I think when it's on your more natural foot, you know, Jamie's right foot, I was right footed. I think you can be more accurate. You can sort of try and pick your spot in the back of the net. But when it's on your weaker foot, I think you do tend to go for a bit more power. And yeah, that's what he did. And you know, he's flying. He's enjoying his football. He had a tough time last season. Really had a hard time in front of goal. Didn't score his first goal at the King Power until April or something like that, I think. But you know, he's hit the ground running. He's got a couple of penalties. You know, he's enjoying his football once again.
Mm.
Oh, you mentioned it as well. What a ball from Wilfred and Ndidi. It sort of went slightly under the radar, didn't it? But that was unbelievable from Wilfred. Like, what's he doing up in that position in the first place, venturing that far forward? Leicester have broken from a defensive position, haven't they? They were excellent on the counter, by the way, throughout the game. But yeah, that was
Kevin De Bruyne-esque.
It was. It was. Yeah, exactly. Good comparison. But Wilfred would be happy with that one. But he keeps contributing though, doesn't he? You know, and he's obviously got his energy, and so he must be a nightmare to play against, all those forward runs. As a defensive midfielder, you're like, oh, here we go again. And then you've got Dewsbury Hall on the other side. Just keeps piling forward. You know, it looks pretty awesome at times. It's just bringing it all together. They'll have half a chance when they start playing well, won't they?
I mean, it's three goals and 2 assists for Wilfred Ndidi at the start of this season.
Yeah, great bit of coaching to spot that in his game, and then to do the work on the training pitch to help unlock it. And I mean, Matt referenced that you talk about, it's always about combinations, isn't it? It's how players work together. And because Dewsbury Hall's doing it on the other side, when you've got 2 players going box to box like that with that energy, and then you're stretching the pitch as well as Leicester do now, that must be horrible. There's big gaps. You know, the way they spread out creates those gaps, and then those 2 number 8s are brilliant to get.
I think you saw the effects of it at times yesterday. But young lad Wharton in midfield, Blackburn, nice player.
Yeah.
You know, technically, I thought, hang on a minute, there's a proper player here, and I'm not saying he won't be, but the longer the game went on, the more toilsome, is that a word? You can make your own mind up on that one. He found it, because he was like trailing in their wake, having to run backwards to his own goal, and it took away from his abilities on the ball, and all of a sudden, come the end of the game, Dewsbury Hall and Ndidi were the two main men, weren't they, in that midfield area? Along with Winks.
And I think the other thing is Winks, because it's maybe more of a sort of foreign coaching way of looking at things, but instead of looking at that kind of defensive midfield position as being a strong man, is looking at having your best passer, like Pirlo did all those years ago. I think Ancelotti put him there for Milan, and it's just a different way of looking at things. I remember Martin Jol when he was at Spurs, putting Moussa Dembele back there, putting Michael Carrick back there as well, first of all. And that at the time was like, why is he not got more of a tackler, more of a sort of digger in there? And it was like, no, because that player...
Quarterback, sort of thing.
Quarterback. He's on the ball more than anyone else, so he has to be the best passer.
Yeah, that's intriguing, that, Ewan, actually, that point that obviously a lot of people have talked about, Harry Winks in that role, and it is a completely different way of looking at that position.
He reminds me ever so much of my time at the football club, and we had a very similar player, and you would have played with him, Matty, Gary Parker.
Yeah.
I mean, Parks was unbelievable. I mean, he'd probably tell you himself he wasn't the most mobile, but he had great ability, and you could give him the ball anywhere on the pitch, whether he was being picked up or whether he had a little bit of space and time. He was always available, and he made a few mistakes, but because he had the ball so much, that's the reason why. He'd give it away on a couple of occasions. But I mean, Harry Winks, what a signing! What a signing for Leicester. England international, had a tough time in Italy for one reason or another last season, but he looks a breath of fresh air, and he's enjoying every single. And I think he will flourish. He will really enjoy playing under Enzo Maresca and the way Enzo wants his teams to play, because everything goes through him.
Yeah, he's barring the game at Liverpool, had been an ever-present. It started every single game.
I think also defensively, sorry, just quickly, he's certainly more capable than Gary Parker that Ewan was referencing there. But in the defensive aspect of the game, he's more mobile, again, as you mentioned there. But he covers, he gets back and makes his challenges. He's not a big, strong physical force like Wilfred and Ndidi that breaking things up. But he reads the game exceptionally well and covers it. He does his job. He needs some assistance at times, which is difficult because the other two get forward. But Parks, Ewan, what a player he was. If he could have run, he'd won 100 caps easy. He's the only player that I used to beat in the sprints. That's how slow he was, mate.
Dear me. Right, we'll talk about one of Winks' midfield partners, Kiernan Dewsbury Hall, in just a moment. We'll do clue number 2, though, of our Lardle this evening. A reminder, we're looking for the goal scorer and the team that it was scored against.
As Daniel Amate, his name being sung loudly amongst the Leicester fans before that corner was taken, as Soyuncu again knocks the ball over the top into the right boot of Harvey Barnes, and his first touch takes him in beyond Traore. Paul pulled back to the edge of the area.
It's a long clip.
Sorry.
Lots of Traores around, aren't there?
Yes, there are. There are. Ewan texted me his guess, by the way, after clue number 1. I won't say anything about it yet, Ewan, but that might make you change it, potentially.
Yeah, I think I'll be changing that guess then. Miles away.
Kiernan Dewsbury Hall has had a really good start to the season. He was one of Leicester's brighter sparks last season in a very not bright season, obviously. The way he took that fourth was sublime, wasn't it? A lovely little chip over the goalkeeper.
Oh, stunning finish, it really was. We talked about confidence earlier on. That's a confident player at the moment. And again, it's great coaching. It's unlocking something in him. I think he's a lad that likes to be contributing all the time. I think he's got a good ego about him. He's a lovely fella. So he's not arrogant, but he's certainly got self-belief. And if you look at his backstory, he had to struggle for so many years to get that chance, and he believed in himself. And I think because Maresca's sort of fitted the personality to the role. Really, he's given him, come on, be our main sort of driving force, attacking force, be the new Maddison from midfield, and he's really responded to that. And well, that was a Maddison finish, if not even better. It was fabulous.
I think with Keenan as well, like, he's got that belief, like you're saying, self-belief, but also the confidence from knowing that he can perform at that level and be a real force. He's done it for teams that not as good as Leicester in this league, and he's stood out. He's been a standout performer, and he knows that he didn't want it to happen that way. But dropping down into the league, it's like, right, okay, this is my chance to really make sure I shine and I become, one of the key members, one of the strong characters in the squad, strong performers on the pitch. James Maddison's gone. He's not the same sort of player, but there are similarities. And he's sort of trying to take over that mantle, albeit a different type of performer. But he's doing a good job of doing so up to now. He's, again, mentioned his confidence there. It's just going to grow and grow and grow. I think he can still tighten things up in his game, but his energy and his athleticism to get up and down and keep going, it just drains the life out of opposition midfielders. He's a little bit hit and miss at the crucial time. Like you're always expecting more from him, and he produced it. Yeah, that's the Keenan we know. And then occasionally his decision making is not quite there, but that's only going to improve as well. So Leicester got a hell of a player there.
Yeah, go on.
I'm not going to agree with his decision making isn't quite there. The comment that Matty's just made then. I mean, he's got James Maddison, magnificent player. Yeah, he hasn't got some of his attributes, but James Maddison hasn't got some of Dewsbury Hall's attributes. He hasn't got his energy. I don't think he hasn't got his pace, because Keenan has got that yard of pace to get away from defenders. And if you look at his goal yesterday, it was very, very similar to the second goal against Norwich, where great bit of play. He's been put in. He's let the ball run across his body. He could have shot, but the better option and the best decision was squaring the ball for Casey McAteer to have a tap in. So I think his decision making isn't bad, and his goal yesterday, I mean, it's a magnificent chip from a tight angle. I don't know if there was support up there for him, and he could have squared it, but it was on his left foot. Scored. He can be one of the best attacking midfielders in this league by a country mile with the attributes that he's got.
Yeah, hopefully
he. Agree, Matty.
What did he say?
Sorry to disagree.
No, it's fine. I wasn't trying to be critical of Keenan. I don't know, maybe I know him personally, not to any massive level, but I don't know, maybe it's a bit like Harvey Barnes. I always see Harvey and he's thinking, you've got more in the locker there, more consistency. And Keenan's more consistent than Harvey. Harvey's stats come out really well, but I just think at certain times there's an extra level to his game that he's capable of taking it to that's not right there now. Is that all right? Is that fair enough? Without being, I can't criticise Keenan because how well he's doing. It's just trying to be a bit of, dare I say, advice, not that he needs it from me.
Well, Keenan Dewsbury Hall was one of a number of Leicester City players who took to social media, of course, to talk about the victory over Blackburn yesterday. He just simply put happy Sunday and then the chip emoji, which I enjoyed seeing that, of course. Wilfred Ndidi, Sunday feeling, and then hugging Keenan Dewsbury Hall. Another man hugging Keenan Dewsbury Hall, Yunus Akdun, on to the next week. Harry Winks says a big win against a tough opponent. Thanks to the travelling fans for your support. Yeah, it really was a fantastic away end, actually. That, and I know a lot of them had trouble getting home as well after. But
Sunday lunch, on television as well, whatever, or accessible.
Yeah.
Here also.
Yes.
If you live in certain parts, but. Yeah, that turned out in their droves. They were brilliant. Yeah,
and we know a lot of them had a bit of trouble getting home, including you, Matt. But at least it was helped by a 4-1 victory. Jamie Vardy just really doing exactly what he did on the pitch, wasn't it there? And Ricardo says, another important win in a tough game. Now a quick turnaround with 2 games at King Power Stadium, thanks to the fans, of course, at the stadium again. It's a good point, actually. And it moves us naturally on to Wednesday evening, that game with Preston. You know, it's a side that are third in the Championship. But if Leicester win that game, they go 7 clear of third place.
Steady, baby.
I know. I said if they win that game. Even if they don't, it's still been a great start. But it'd have been an interesting game against a team that obviously got, well, battered at the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, that was a blip, I suppose, for Preston so far. They're a team with lots of personality. They're a different type of challenge, I think, to Blackburn. Strong, quite kind of traditional in the way they play. 2 big guys up front will make it difficult. Will be compact against the ball. So a different sort of test, and that's what you get in the Championship, isn't it? They come thick and fast, and they can be slightly different every week. But what a great opportunity, I suppose, as you say, Dan, for Leicester to put a little bit of clear blue water, as they say, to third place. And I don't know, I feel in the Championship, if you get the chance to put some momentum together and you're on a wave of form and you can rack up the points, it really counts, because it is so hard in the division to go on those runs. Wherever that run comes, early season, late season, if you can ride it, it can really be a difference maker. And
just again, without getting too far ahead, I'm accusing you of that to a degree. There have been 7 points if yet. I mean, it's good incentive to have that. Use that as motivation. But also, the game's coming up for Leicester. They're not unwinnable games either. A lot of them. There's one of the 2 teams higher up in the league. All tough challenges in different ways, but they're capable of keeping a run going. I'm not saying winning every one of them, but keeping the points ticking over. And what a great time for Preston to lose 4-0 from Leicester's point of view. I mean, again, it's not about being overconfident, but you'd much rather them, Preston have surprised people, Ipswich less so, but very impressive. People looking at Preston, I think most people expect them to dip at some stage. Will they be there, when the final call comes? Don't know. They would have to wait and see. But you're looking at them thinking, well, they've just lost 4-0. How are they going to be feeling coming to Leicester? If they nicked a 1-0, whatever, and played poorly, kept their ball rolling, they'd be relishing the chance of coming down here and upsetting the apple cart. Now, you get turned over 4-0 at home, and you're like, oh, right, maybe the bubbles burst sort of thing internally. They're not going to admit that. But if they're strong characters, if they're well managed, well coached, then they'll come here and provide a stiff challenge.
Yeah, they only had 1 shot on target, Ewan, in that defeat at home to West Brom at the weekend, and they will have been mightily disappointed with that. This is a side that have been really good this season in terms of keeping opposition out. Before that, they'd only conceded 6 in the league in their 8 games, and then they conceded 4 at home.
Their sort of success under Ryan Lowe has been based on a solid defensive unit from 1 to 11. They've got one of the best goalkeepers in the division in Freddie Woodman. Saw a lot of him when he was on loan from Newcastle at Swansea City. They finished 12th last season, but they were the 4th lowest scorers in the division. Damn, they didn't concede in their opening 7 games last season in the league. They're unbeaten away from home. I think they've only conceded twice on the road, and maybe having sort of the loss on Saturday was their first defeat in 9 games. So they've had a really, really good start, as obviously we know by their 3rd place position in the Championship. But it's a game, even though Leicester haven't been firing on all cylinders at the King Power. I think it's fair to say that. You think 18 goals scored in 9 games. Only 5 of those goals have come at home. There have been 2-1 wins, 1-0 wins. So, sooner or later, you get the feeling that someone is going to get a hammering at home at the King Power. Will that come Wednesday? I'm not too sure, just because of what happened up at Deepdale against West Brom on Saturday.
Right, let's go to... By the way, it's a 7:45 kickoff on Wednesday. That means we are live from 6:45 on Fox's Hub on Matchday Live, and the game is available for anyone to watch on Fox's Hub as well, no matter where you are, I think in the whole world as well, particularly here in England. So lots of people can get their game passes for that one as well. All the details for that are on Fox's Hub. We've had a couple of guesses in.
Good.
Yes, it is good. We've had a couple of guesses. So there'll be extra people watching you, Matt, and scrutinising you during your punditry, so a little bit of extra pressure for you.
In the limelight.
We've had a couple of guesses in for our Lurdle this evening. I'm afraid none of them are right at the moment. Just a couple of those. We've got Stuart Russell. He says Harvey Barnes against Wolves. It is not Barnes against Wolves. Fee says Barnes against Chelsea. It isn't that either.
I think people are jumping the gun with Barnes, aren't they?
Yes.
I did the same. We're going Barnes against Liverpool.
Yeah, well, we're going to find out the goal scorer now. So we still are looking them for the team it was scored against as well. Here we go.
Before that corner was taken, as Soyuncu again knocks the ball over the top into the right boot of Harvey Barnes, and his first touch takes him in beyond Traore. Paul pulled back to the edge of the area. Brighton smashes it into the net to give the Foxes the lead as we hit the half-hour mark. A player remembered for famous European goals.
That was clue number 3.
What was that noise?
Iwan Roberts is smiling because his text, I said I'd come back to it, his text after clue number 1, he said, Mark Albrighton against Bruges. That is not correct. Obviously, you were correct, though, in terms of who got the goal. So well done, Ewan, there. But we still need the team.
I can picture, is it when he sort of like skimmed it, the roof of the net type thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I can't picture the opposition.
Yes, so we just need to find out who he scored that against. You've got.
Was it in Europe?
I'm not going to give you any
It
more
was
clues.
Europe, I think.
It was in Europe, was it?
There was a little hint there in the commentary, wasn't there?
Traore.
No,
he
he
scored
mentioned famous for scoring goals in Europe, he said.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, okay. So, didn't realise Dunny was that sharp.
Right. The men at the weekend weren't the only LCFC team to play, because it was also the first game of the season for LCFC women in the WSL, as they kicked off pretty much just as the full-time whistle went in Blackburn. They were away in Bristol City, and Willie Kirkside made it 2 wins in 2 for the men and the women yesterday, as they came from behind to beat Bristol City 4-2 at Ashton Gate.
Yeah, I said to them, it doesn't matter if it's Bristol City or Man City, you have to celebrate every 3 points. 3 points in this league's tough. Arsenal found that out today. So, to get 3 points in any game in the WSL has to be celebrated, and we want to celebrate it, but we'll always do it in a humble way, and we said that at the start of the season that was really important, that we enjoyed success, but we did it in a way with a bit of class and with a lot of humility.
That was Willie Kirk there. We had him on our show on Matchday Live, actually, in the week ahead of the Liverpool game. He was great, obviously previewing the start to the season, said he was confident about getting a result away at Ashton Gate, and he absolutely did. 3 of Leicester's 4 goals came in the second half, including one for summer signing Lena Peterman, who says she was pleased to get off the mark for her new club in a particularly impressive second half performance.
Yeah, I think we fought back. The equaliser was so important before the half-time, and it showed we are mentally there. Second half we started off really, really great. We were just there in the duels, we won the duels, and we were more dangerous in the box in the final third.
Yeah, that was new signing Lena Peterman, who got off the mark for her new club. It actually took Leicester 10 games to reach 3 points last season in the WSL. So that win represents a brilliant start. They've eclipsed it in 1 game.
Yeah, and I know that only too well, Dan. My daughters, as we said earlier, are next door, and we had season tickets last year. We're probably going to renew, and actually really enjoyed the experience. But I think
didn't see many goals, but I think you will this season.
Well, I think I didn't see a goal personally till after Christmas. Basically, I think I missed the game they did score, and we were waiting for the points to come. I mean, Willie Kirk taking over made a massive difference, and he did an incredible job in keeping the team up. There's some good loan signings in January, I think, that helped. And it looks like things have moved on from there. A summer refresh in terms of the squad, some really good players coming in, Lena Peterman being one of them. And from what the weekend's game looked like, a more expansive style of play, creating a lot of chances. And knocking the ball about nicely, and you know, a very different start to last season that will give them something to build on properly.
Yeah, I think by all accounts, basically, he's much happier with his squad and willing to play that style. Absolutely, you should renew your season ticket. They play against Everton women on Sunday. It's the first home game of the season. It's here, of course, at King Power Stadium. It's a 3 o'clock kickoff, obviously. We encourage everyone to come down and cheer on LCFC women this season, who have made a really good start to the season. They're actually top of the league as well after one game. So top of the league in the Championship for the men, top of the league in WSL for the women. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. Right, we've had some correct guesses on social media for our Ladle. We might as well do the fourth and final clue. Well done to those of you, including Matt, including Ewan, who have got it right. Let's play clue number 4 for those that still haven't quite got it yet.
Paul pulled back to the edge of the area. Albrighton smashes it into the net to give the Foxes the lead as we hit the half-hour mark. A player remembered for famous European goals. Well, he's just banged that one in from the edge of the area after a great ball by Soyuncu, who floated over the top down the left-hand side onto the right boot of Harvey Barnes. He turned on the turbo boost. He's away beyond Traore on the left, pulls it back to Albrighton, had time to think about it, and he had time to smash the ball into the back of the net. Leicester 1-0.
Just left out the name of the team there at the end as well. Actually, Ewan, I assumed you'd got it right when you texted me, but you hadn't actually, and you've just guessed again, and that's wrong as well. You're thinking Premier League. It's not the Premier League. Matt Elliott, you've got the answer right, haven't you?
Well, yeah, the clue was, as you hinted towards me, it was European involvement. We were on the trip. I should know. I was sat there next to the commentator watching the game. It's all coming back to me now. Was away at Rennes,
correct,
in northern France, and a very nice trip that was too.
Well done to Stuart Russell, who got that. Well done to Bubba as well. Albrighton in the Europa Conference League. He's just put the French side. But, we'll give him that, I think.
Hey, what an atmosphere it was there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Remember the whole stadium. You've ever been there, Jonathan?
Not the stadium, no.
It was great. You don't normally get one end or one section. Whole stadium was up for the majority of the time. It was great performance, great night as well, wasn't it?
Absolutely. The link is Iwan Roberts, because he made his 300th appearance for the Foxes when they played against Liverpool in midweek. I'll come to you because you got it half right. You guessed Albrighton after clue number 1. You just weren't quite able to get the team in the end. But what a servant he's been for this football club.
When did he sign? 2014. He was sent out on loan to West Brom last season, but I can imagine he's an absolute manager's dream. Great professional, great for someone to have in a dressing room to sort of look after the youngsters. Someone for the youngsters to turn to. I wouldn't say a shoulder to cry on, but someone they can talk to. You know, you look back at the Premier League winning season, 38 appearances in that season, 2 goals. You know, won the Premier League, won the FA Cup. He's been absolutely fantastic. Mr. Reliable, you know what you're going to get. He's one of these players that a manager would always turn to if you need someone solid, full of energy, hardworking, dependable on that right-hand side. You know, he's been turned to more than once from different managers. He's been an absolutely magnificent player for Leicester City.
Well, you've pretty much covered it all now. You're looking at me, Batesy, to further comment, but just to re-endorse everything you said there. I mean, he's a real nice fella as well, which is, part of his makeup, or not his appeal, but part of his quality as a player. A real good team squad member, isn't he? But also a very decent performer, by the way. You don't get 300 games by being a nice bloke and working hard. You've got to have a fair bit of ability as well. And he has that. He's very dependable, isn't he? But he has that quality on the cross, as well as picking balls out. That link up at times throughout their career with him and Vardy been key. Been key. It's not just about Albrighton whipping crosses in, which he can. He chips in with the odd goal. Does a great job for the team.
Well, I mean, you look at it, in those 300 games, 19 goals, 47 assists, so there's goal involvement there.
Yeah, lads have said it really nicely. Dependable, more talent than he's been given credit for. I think it's a scandal he never won an England cap, particularly in the 2015-16 season. He was flying. And in that season, I always thought there were two sort of magic ingredients in that team that made the rest of the unit work. One was Okazaki and one was Mark Albright. The job he did, when you think the work rate he put in on the right gave Mahrez the freedom to do what he did on the other side, maybe not do some of the other stuff, but express himself the way he did. And the link up with Vardy, the reliability. He had a great bond with Kasper Schmeichel. Kasper would often find him with those big booming kickouts, and a terrific servant for the football club. And he actually had a difficult start at Leicester, didn't he? When he came, he was playing wing back. He wasn't enjoying it. Wondered whether he'd made the right move in coming from Aston Villa. And then look what he's gone on to do. One of my absolute favourite Leicester players.
So many supporters, Ewan, actually say that themselves, that if you ask them who their favourite player is, a lot of them, maybe sometimes it's the obvious one, the likes of Jamie Vardy, but Mark Albright always gets a mention.
And rightly so. I think certain players, Dan, you don't realise what they give a team until they're not there. And then you see the quality that they brought to that starting 11. And I think that typifies Mark Albrighton's, 9 years at the football club.
Exactly. Unfortunately, we're steadily running out of time, so we might not actually get to do globetrotting tonight. What we'll do, Ewan, though, we'll do our predictions and Jenga first. If we've got time at the end, we will do it, though. So I'll read out the question for our Jenga, and this is new to me as well, by the way, because I'm involved in this. So the four of us are going to go head to head. After Mark Albrighton made his 300th appearance against Liverpool, name any of the teams he has scored against.
Scored against?
Yes, any of the teams he's scored against.
I thought it would be all right.
Yeah. So there's a race to whoever goes first to basically say what we've just been listening to in the Lurdle. While these guys frantically scribble down some answers, I will read out our predictions very, very quickly. Ahead of every week, Tony Cotty, myself, Matt/Jerry, and Ewan always put some predictions in. You get 1 point if you get the result correct. You get 3 points if you get it spot on. So there's a point for everyone bar Tony Cotty in that result there. Southampton 3, Leeds 1. Nobody predicted a Southampton win there. That was a little bit of a turn-up, wasn't it? Cardiff 2, Rotherham 0. That's 3 points for Tony, 1 point for the rest of us. He keeps picking up little results like that, Tony Cotty. No one predicted Swansea to win away at Millwall.
What was that all about, that result?
And Tony, again, the only person to pick up a point in the final game. Watford 2, Middlesbrough 3. Let's see how that leaves the table. We can leave it on really, really quickly. We don't need to dwell
soaring.
on that.
I tried to move that phone so you could knock it for you. And it's just
I'm
soaring away at the top.
I'm annoyed that you're 9 points clear of me, and I'm rooted to the bottom of the table. You and it's all so different to what it was last season when we were both flying at the top of that. Anyway, right, time for the Jenga. Let's make up for it now. And we will start with our guest this evening, Jonathan Northcroft. We are looking for any of the teams Mark Albrighton has scored against during his 300 games for Leicester
There's
City.
plenty of time for around the globe.
I think you might be right, yeah.
Rennes.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, beat us all to it there. Norwich, he scored against a couple of seasons ago.
Bruges.
Ewan? Oh dear. You didn't second guess it this week, Ewan.
I didn't hear the question properly. I thought you said who had he played against in the Premier League for Leicester. So I've got loads of. I'm going to go Crystal Palace.
Well.
As you announced, that leaves the three of us.
Swansea.
That's a good shout, I think. Yeah, unplayed.
Yeah, I'm going to
Away.
go along the lines that John Dunn in commentary was going on about. Scored some big European goals. You've mentioned Bruges. You also scored against Sevilla.
Ah. Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Behave yourself sometime.
No. God, like, how many goals did he get? 19?
19.
So, yeah.
You'd think they would stick out because they don't happen too often. What did you say? Norwich?
Yeah.
Palace? No. Everton?
Was that a guess or was that educated?
Very uneducated guess.
I thought it was in there.
Have you had that one written down?
But yeah, West Brom.
I was going to say West Brom. But is that because he went there?
Yeah.
It's just because he went there.
Okay, that just leaves you and I. I think I've got one banker. I hope Man City.
Yeah, I was thinking of them. Where was that? At home?
The 4-1, 4-2.
Are you not going to say when it was?
No, because I can't remember exactly
giving
when it
things
was. I just
away.
remember he scored against Man City.
Right, you got Man City there. I'm going to go Chelsea.
Oh, that's a good shout. Which leaves me struggling.
I can't remember the
I'm gonna
specific
think-
goal. You just get a feel.
Has he scored against his former side? So I'm going to guess Villa.
No, that's a bad shout. He wouldn't do that.
I think get this and you win.
Oh, I don't think I've ever won.
You can have the win even if you don't get it. But
For a
come on, see
long,
if you
long
can
time. Come on in. He scored against Man U. Don't remember. He scored that 5-3, did he? Tottenham.
Oh,
get it. Yeah, well done, Matt. You deserve
boy.
that. You deserve that this
Oh,
evening.
played.
Good effort, that.
It's Ewan. Hello, Ewan.
Mate.
Oh dear. Yeah, that's embarrassing. We actually spoke to him today as well, so about his 300 games for Leicester. So should probably have done better. But well done, Matt.
Thank you.
for
Not a
that.
phrase I hear very often.
No,
Not
but
from you
credit,
anyway.
Credit where credit's due, though. We've got a couple of minutes left. We will leave Globetrotting, I'm afraid, you, and we'll do it next week. We'll make sure we leave it enough time for it. We've got enough time though to continue previewing really the game on Wednesday because it is a big game. We've spoken about the permutations of what it means if Leicester do win it in terms of going clear of third place Preston. But you were both speaking about.
Absolutely.
Go on.
Sorry, who was that for?
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
I think it's a good opportunity. It won't be easy. You know, we've spoken about Preston's strengths and how Ryan Lowe's sort of well coached them, defensively sound, even though they've been battered 4-0 at the weekend. I just get the feeling that having been well beaten like that, we will see a different Preston come to the King Power on Wednesday. But saying that, and even though it's been a bit of a slower start at home than it has been away from home, free flowing away from home, it has been slightly harder because the way teams set up, and I expect Preston to do exactly the same. Get everybody behind the ball, defend deep, try and frustrate Leicester. But at the end, I think Leicester will have too much quality for them.
Sorry to Bob on Facebook, by the way. He says, "Oh no, please don't skip the globe-trotting. That's his favourite feature every Monday evening," which has put a beaming smile on Ewan's face, which is made up for him going out in the first round of our football Jenga. Sorry, Bob. We will do it next week, of course. But yeah, big game, Jonathan, on Wednesday.
yeah, massive game. It's as we've said, it's a great opportunity. But I suppose Leicester are in such a good position that even a draw would be okay. Not that they'll be thinking about that. I'll be interested to see with the next game coming up so quickly as well, and this being a really busy period, whether there'll be more rotation. I wonder if Iheanacho comes in for this one. I don't suppose you...
No, Yannick Vestergaard, by the way, he's suspended.
Right, so it could be
you assume potentially Connor Cody will come.
Well, it's a great game for Cody because, as I say, they'll
start.
test you physically, Preston. They will put pressure aerially and physically on the defence, so that could be a good one for him.
Yeah, hopefully so. That is the end of Extra Time this evening. Thank you very much to our three guests this evening. Iwan Roberts, enjoy being at home and not having to drive back from the studio.
It's been a nightmare. I can't hear properly. The cat's causing havoc.
Ever the professional, though, Ewan, we'd have never known. Thank you to Jonathan for coming in as well. And thank you and congratulations to Matt Elliott on your Jenga victory.
Thank you very much,
You
son.
deserved it. It was a very good performance. Right, we'll be back again on Wednesday. You'll be here on comms again, I believe, on Wednesday for the game.
Don't shake me off, mate.
For the game against Preston. As we've said, it's a 7:45 kickoff. That means you can join us and watch the game on Foxes Hub Matchday Live from 6:45. So do join us then if you can't get down to King Power Stadium.